everyone to Suwannee County Board of County Commissioners meeting of April 6, 2021 at 6 p.m. If you please stand, Commissioner Fleming is going to do our invocation and pledge.
Let's pray. Our Father, we come again in your name. Thank you for your blessings. Thank you for a portion of life, health, and strength. And we thank you for how you brought us, how you kept us. You've been good to us, better to us than we've been to ourselves. We pray tonight that you be with us, watch over and protect us. For we need you, and then we can't get along without you. Bless our commissioners tonight. Give us strength. Give us strength to do county business. Help us to do the right thing and say the right thing. Father, we know that you're able. Look over these people out in the community tonight, our constituents. Well, we know that you're able to make a way out of no way. Bless the administrators. Oh, God, look over us, the attorneys, everyone in the building today. Father, we ask these and all blessings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Once again, I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. I realize the room's pretty crowded, so if we have any ladies that happen to come in a little bit late, if gentlemen, please make sure we have a seat for them. First item of business this evening is approval of minutes of March 8th, 2021, CDBG public hearing, March 15th, 2021, regular board meeting, March 23rd, 2021, special called meeting, and March 30th, 2021, professional engineering services tabulation meeting. I have any questions, comments, or do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleming.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hale. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Moving ahead to the consent agenda, we're going to pull items number 10 and number 11. At this time, I have items 2 through 9 and 12 and 13. Any questions or comments, or do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, can we pull item number 6, please, sir, for discussion?
Yes, sir. Item number 6 also. So at this time, we have items 2 through 5, 7, 8, 9, 12, and 13.
Make a motion.
Have a motion by Commissioner Hale.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 6 will go in order here. Commissioner Land.
This might take a minute if you want to come back to it later, but we can go. We got a 6:05 time specific, but that's totally up to you. I got a lot of material here that I've done some research on. It's going to take more than, well, that clock don't work, 2 minutes.
Okay. Well,
If you want to come back to it, I'm good with that.
we have a couple of presentations and things also. We'll do them, and that way some people won't be holding them up.
That's what I was thinking.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Item number 10 will go to Mr. Harris.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we talked about scheduling this workshop at 3 o'clock on April 13th, which I'm proposing that we still do, but what I would ask is that we go ahead and handle our renewal of the local state of emergency at 3 o'clock and then take the workshop up thereafter. We had talked about doing that different in the last meeting, starting the workshop at 3, scheduling the renewal at 5, but if we do the renewal first, then we can move right into the workshop. And then we'll just finish up with the workshop.
We have a consensus agreement on that?
I'm done.
Is that all we need for that?
That's all we needed.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Harris.
If
At
you want
this
to go ahead
time,
and approve the item, you want to approve the agenda item?
yes, sir.
Number 10.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Have a motion to approve item number 10, a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner, or motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Hale. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Harris. At this time, item number 11, adopt a resolution proclaiming the month of April as National Healthcare Decisions Month. At this time, I have a proclamation in front of me and we'll read aloud. National Healthcare Decision Day is recognized across our nation on April 16, 2021 to raise public awareness of the need to plan ahead for healthcare decisions, especially those related to end-of-life care and medical decision-making when patients are unable to speak for themselves, and to encourage the specific use of advanced directives to communicate these important healthcare decisions. Many Suwannee County, Florida residents have not yet prepared for healthcare decisions in times of crisis or at end of life, nor had important conversations with their families and their health care with their families and documented those decisions. It is likely a significant reason for these low percentages is that there is both a lack of awareness and uncertainty in the public about advance directives. One of the goals of Health Care Decisions Day is to raise awareness and provide clear and consistent information to the public about advance directives, as well as to encourage medical professionals and lawyers to volunteer their time and effort to improve public knowledge and increase the number of citizens with advance directives. Haven Hospice endorses this event and is committed to educating the public during the month of April to stress the importance of discussing healthcare choices and executing advance directives to make their wishes known. Through the authority vested in me by the Board of County Commissioners of Suwannee County, I hereby proclaim April 2021 as National Health Care Decisions Month in Suwannee County. At this time, I would ask, do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hale.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous, 5-0. At this time, I think we have joining us this evening Ms. Amanda Butler from Haven Hospice. Like to get a picture? We can do that, gentlemen, if you come down front. At this time, I'm going to ask Chief Hand to come forward. He has a presentation he would like to do this evening. We're going to take part in, gentlemen. This time, I'll turn it over to Chief Hand. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to do this presentation. Before we get started on that, though, I just want to give you a little, two things. First, give you a little update. Commissioner White, at last week's emergency meeting, had brought up the North Florida burner training event that we took place in. We had about 17 of our guys took place in the training. It was amazing. Every one of them came back excited with a bunch of new stuff that they learned and are already, wanting to build props and do things that, to be able to put some props together to make our training better. And on that note, I'd like to definitely publicly recognize Bender Holtz. We contacted them. We were needing some lumber to burn for the training event, but we had no idea that they were going to give us 2 gooseneck trailer loads worth of lumber to, that they donated to us. Now it's stuff that's non-sellable. It's been in the weather a little bit, but for building training props and burning and training and stuff like that, it's amazing for us. So we got out there and they'd have given us a lot more if we had anywhere to put it. But they're showing support in the community already, being a new company here. And like I said, donated several bundles of lumber to us that we'll be able to utilize to build some props and do the burning that we need to do. I'd like to welcome everyone. We're here tonight to honor and recognize a couple folks that worked for Suwannee County EMS back in the days before we were fire rescue. These two people were the first African-American employees of Suwannee County EMS. First one I'd like to recognize is Mr. Benny Thomas. Mr. Benny worked in EMS whenever it first started, and they were under the direction of Howard Wright at the city of Live Oak, the fire chief there. It was a county department, but they were under direction of Chief Wright, and he kind of paved the way for everybody else coming after him. He was the first male African-American employee of Suwannee EMS. Second, I'd like to recognize is Ms. Pat Hines Mitchell. She was the first female employee of EMS, and Ms. Pat worked several years as well, and has paved the way for several others that have come after both of them. So I'd like to have Mr. Benny come up, please. And Ms. Pat, I don't see Ms. Pat. Is any of her family here?
Let's get a picture of this.
Okay. I'm going to read this certificate. It's a certificate of recognition presented to Benny Thomas. It's in recognition of being the first male African-American employee of Suwannee County EMS. Service dates 12/28 of 1973 to 7/1 of 1976. We thank you so much for your service. And before we take a picture, I will read Ms. Pat's as well. It's certificate of recognition presented to Ms. Pat Hines Mitchell in recognition of being the first female African-American employee of Suwannee County EMS. Service date of 5/9/1984 to 7/27 of 1990.
Thank you, Mr. Benny. Thank you, Mr. Benny.
Chief, I have
Yes, sir.
something to say concerning, well, Ms. Mitchell is not here, but Benny has been a mentor for me for some decades, I say. He knew me before I was born, but he been knowing me all my life, and he has been a successful city councilman and a successful businessman. I'm not in love with the business that he's in, but he has been successful, and I really appreciate him. And when the discussion went on, Commissioner Gamble at the time talked about the recognizing EMS, and I did mention, I said, well, Benny was actually the first one, I think it was 1974, 75, somewhere up in there. It was my last final year in high school, but I appreciate him. I want to let you know I appreciate you. I hate to tell who he is, what he is to me, because they claim that I'm related to everybody in Florida. But Benny and my father were first cousins, so you know how that feels. He always felt like a big brother to me, but I really appreciate him. Thank you, Chief.
Well, a lot of people may not understand how emergency services were before the actual emergence of EMS, but the funeral homes were EMS back then. And if the patient was alive, they went to the hospital with them, and there was very little treatment done. It was basically pick them up and get them to the hospital. And if the patient had passed away, they went to the funeral home with them. So, perfect, job for him to go into after EMS for sure. But we thank you very much, Mr. Benny.
Thank you, Chief.
Yeah. Thank you. I would like to say, Mr. Benny, I appreciate you too. I've been knowing him for years, and he's one reason I found out there's no term limits in city council, because he's been there my whole life till recently. But no, I've watched him many a night up there and learned a lot from him, and just grateful for him and what he's meant to Suwannee County.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, if
Yes, sir.
I would not want to not say something good about both these individuals. I've known them my entire life as well, Ms. Pat and Mr. Benny, and just could be more proud of both of them for getting this recognition. They deserve it.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Pat couldn't be here tonight, but, you know, I know that she's very appreciative of this acknowledgement. She's a, as well as Mr. Benny. I mean, they're two fine folks,
Amen.
with deep roots in Suwannee County and love this place as much as we do. Yeah, we appreciate their service.
Absolutely.
I'd just like to say thank you as well, and Mr. Clyde, I believe you are related to everybody.
You on point.
All right, gentlemen, at this time, we'll move forward to our time specific. Our first order of business tonight is at 6:05 PM or soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard, hold a public hearing to consider approval of budget amendments for fiscal year 2019-2020. Mr. Keith Gentry. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. We have two amendments for fiscal year end 2020. One is for General Revenue Fund. We've received a CARES Act payment number one of $2,024,721. And the appropriations for that, we had $20,220 worth in COVID-19 operating supplies. And the remainder of that, $2,004,501 going to reserves, CARES Act money, CARES Act payment number one. The second budget amendment regarding the Emergency Management Grant Fund, we had a increase of $9,964 for the EMPA, EMPG pass-through grant to the sheriff. And those are the two that we have for 2020.
Thank you, sir. At this time, do I have any questions for Mr. Gentry from the board?
No, sir.
Seeing none, at this time, I will open the floor to public comment. This is only to speak on this item. I understand we have two items tonight, but is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak on this comment, on this item? Seeing none, I will close public comment. At this time, do I have a motion for the approval of the budget amendment?
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner Land, have a second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Gentry. At this time, it was 5-0 vote also. I need to announce that. At this time, I'll close public hearing on this item. Moving ahead to item number 15. At 6:05 PM or as soon thereafter, as the matter can be heard, hold a public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 10, Amusements and Entertainments, to add Article 3, Internet Cafes. Mr. Jimmy Pratt, Randy Harris. Gentlemen, I have any?
There isn't a whole lot that I can speak to on this. I mean, you know, I raised the concerns, we actually heard from a public concern previously, so it's now before you, and if Mr. Pravat wants to speak to the technical issues associated with what's before you, he can do that.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, we kind of got directed to look at the hours of operation for the internet cafes as a result of the public comment. I went in and I came up with a set of definitions for various aspects dealing with gaming machines and with the definition of the internet cafes themselves. And then we moved on to take in items to set times, and the time I had presented was from 10 a.m. through 12 a.m. That was what was indicated kind of at the last meeting. And then there were several other items that typically follow along with these things. One is the prohibition of alcohol being served on or about the premises. And secondly, the prohibition of having minors be able to go into the establishments. So those are really the three items that we addressed: time, alcohol, minors. And then when we set it up for enforcement, we set it up like we do for our other ordinances within the county, setting forth a citation way of enforcement, or in addition, it can be enforced by injunctive relief in the court. and provided for remedies, therein. So that's basically about it.
Thank you, Mr. Pravat. At this time, do I have any questions for Mr. Pravat?
I got a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Lamb.
Yes. Mr. Pravat, I'm just a little unfamiliar with the process. Do these cafes, do they have to obtain a permit or a license? In other words, is there a limit on how many could be in the county or any municipality? Is there a limit, so many, how's that work?
Yeah, well, right now, there is no limit to what can be. Y'all had no ordinance that addressed internet cafes at all. So this was coming up with a definition of one and then moving forward from there, being directed just to look at a limited, scope of it. But at this point, we do not have such an ordinance in the city, in the county, excuse me.
So hypothetically, we could have 10, 20, 50?
However many that can open up the doors and people will support it.
Okay.
I mean, that's part of the request for tonight, though, is to
Address.
a moratorium on not allowing any additional ones to open, especially while we continue to have discussions on them moving forward.
Right, I understand that, but with the moratorium, my question is if there's not a permitting or a process, or if they don't have to have a permit, how are you going to put a moratorium on it other than stop the business license if they name Internet Cafe as their type of, that's where I was going with that.
Gotcha.
They still would have to go through the building department to be able to get up opening that way, to comply with all the regulations, be inspected, fire inspected, those types of things. So we'll still be able to identify for enforcement
The
purposes.
type of business that it.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions at this time for Mr. Pravat?
Oh, a question, to Mr. Pravat. If someone went through the building department, fire marshal, and had an establishment and say that they want to start an internet cafe, what is the criteria for that? I'm kind of like Commissioner Land, if they, it's a broad, open path that they can just.
Currently, you'd have to comply. All those regulations are under state law.
Okay,
And what they're, where you cross the line from an internet cafe to a gambling establishment, those things are all out there as state statutes. So that's what initially would be enforced and how they would go about doing that, or to open up a business. There are certain exceptions that are made for Miami-Dade and another for the, can't remember which county, but, for the Seminole establishments and stuff like that, when they have gambling and internet cafes going back and forth. So there's certain types of machines that are cross the line.
okay.
Just so we're clear on what we have in this ordinance that's up for discussion, the hours of operation that's spelled out, so we're clear, Mr. Pravat, is 10 a.m. to 12
Yes, sir.
midnight?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So we're discussing two things here. We're discussing that and the moratorium. I want for the audience to understand that's the hours that we're talking about. Obviously, we will allow the public to speak here momentarily, but I just want everybody to be on the same page that, we can make changes and decisions, to those hours and have a vote to see if that passes or doesn't pass, but I just want everybody to be on the same page about the hours.
You don't want to, those two items, is the moratorium and the time factor. What about also if we include the limitations of the ones in the county? I don't know how many we have in the county.
As far as,
The gaming, whatever they call it.
you're saying not allowing any more of them to be open?
Well, we
or
got the moratorium, but they may come with, we may want to discuss also how many could be established.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
And on that note, I think
Pull your
on that note, I'd asked at the last meeting for a head count, if you will, how many we have. Does anyone know between the city of Live Oak and in the county, how many we have currently at this time?
Believe in the county,
Two.
2.
Oh, it's just 2 in the county.
City.
And in the
can you
city,
tell me?
Mr. Curtis is here, he could address that, but I believe he said it was between 9 and 11.
Wow. But we're not talking about city ordinances. We're just strictly speaking outside the city limits, correct?
Correct.
I mean, we don't jurisdict city of Live Oak. So we're just speaking about
2.
Well, because to my understanding, the moratorium's already in the city.
Okay.
Is that correct, Mr. Curtis? They already have one in place not to allow anymore. So, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm not opposed to putting a moratorium on how many we allow and the time specific, and the other 2 here as far as no minors and alcohol beverages that you've put in here as well. So I'm open for discussion on all that.
You have it?
No, sir, I'm listening.
Any comments, Commissioner White? At this time, what I think I would like to do is I'd like to hear from the public. We have some folks here to speak, and we'll come one at a time. Ma'am, if you please make your way to the podium, state your name and address for the record. We're going to do this in a orderly fashion, so I want everybody to be able to speak. I want to be respectful to both sides. Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record.
Thank you. Anita Williams, 4242 Don Luis Drive, LA, California, 90008. This came up at I talked to the city councilman in a district I have property. This came up at the city council meeting, the moratorium issue, how many there are in the city. People thought they were too many, and some things that are happening there. And I think I'll ask the county the same question that I ask at the city, and that's what benefit do they bring to the city? What is the tax revenue, or what is the financial gain for the county on having them? Right now, you only have 2. I see they're proliferating in the city. And if there's not some stronger guidelines on how many you can have, I can see you having a problem. I had some person tell me they went to one that was approved out in the country in a trailer, which I didn't think that could happen, that you had them like that, but they said it's grandfathered in or something from the county. So I was wondering, what's the tax base that they bring in, or what profit or benefit do they provide the county? Because one thing I said at the city, I worry about that, we're in a time of COVID, people are stressed and depressed, and, they won't think they can make quick money, but we always know the house is always going to win. So I could see it definitely, if it's not a revenue generator for the county, and it's definitely a revenue killer for the gamblers. So that's all I just wanted to ask.
Thank you. Your comments is duly noted. We will discuss that. Mr. Haneke, would you please make your way? Sir, I got you right behind him. I got you. Welcome, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
Wayne Haneke, 11883 93rd Road, Live Oak. I'll be kind of short because I'm pretty sure you all saw my email of last week. I believe the internet cafes are a detriment to our county, to our people, to the safety of our people. Let's be real. They're gambling facilities. They're not anything other than that. You heard Ms. Skinner talk last time how she was scared at her own business because there was a fight going on, and there's been a robbery at that same one. So many counties have already banned these, and I'm not sure why we're not thinking the same thing. Duval County has banned them. Nassau County has banned them. Columbia County, on their last meeting, put on a moratorium and then instructed their county attorney to write something to ban them. town of Branford has already banned them. I think if we don't do that, when these other counties continue to ban them, we're going to see them more and more try to come this way. I've heard you all say a lot of times, let's do what's right for Suwannee County. In my opinion, what's right, we don't need to regulate them. We don't need to change their operation time, and we need to ban them. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next. Welcome, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Tom Burnett, 12981 92nd Street in Live Oak, in the county. I want to form my objection. These are legal businesses. You don't regulate the hours of a gas station. You don't regulate the hours of other businesses. You don't tell how many gas stations we got to have in the county. This is a legal business. I have no skin in the game. But for y'all to try to regulate and say that it's gambling, well, we got the state lottery. I mean, there's gambling's legal in this state. Okay, maybe different forms. And I just object to us trying to, as an organization, as a county commission, trying to put restrictions and bans and anything else. Now, I can understand not having minors in the organization, but why not have liquor? What's the problem? I don't understand that. Maybe you need to ask the sheriff. Have we been getting a lot of, or the police department, have we been getting a lot of crime reports out of these places? I just don't see it. And for these people to come up and say, or anybody, to try to regulate a legal business in any form, that bothers me, okay? And I just object to that. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments, sir. Do I have anyone else wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, I will close public comment, and we're going to open discussion with the board. Gentlemen, just as these folks you've heard have some for, have some against, I respect both sides. But at the end of the day, I have my opinions, and I know what I'm in support of. And obviously, this is a board, and this is why we're here, because we got 5 different opinions and thoughts, and at the end of the time, we vote on things. My feelings on this situation is, and to answer the gentleman that just spoke, is number one, I feel like they prey on the people. I feel like those folks get their paycheck, and they go up there, and those folks take it from them. Number two is, I don't have a problem with anyone doing something that's legal, but when I have law enforcement that I've sat in on meetings, and they went in the establishment, and they're not following the guidelines of the state, and they have illegal activities going on in there, I have an issue with that. Another issue I have is, why does it need to be up 24 hours a day? I'm all in support of not putting government in people's business, but when I feel like it's affecting the lives and other businesses around it, they're not willing to do the right thing, then there comes a time when folks that's representatives of the people, they have to stand up. And that puts me in the hot seat tonight to speak up and say what I feel like is right from the way I see it. I'm welcome to any of your comments, and all of them.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll jump in the hot seat with you. I ain't gonna let you sit there by yourself. I mean, I'll echo pretty much everything you said. I understand the gentleman's concerns, but I believe that those type of establishments prey on the vulnerable, and we're in some vulnerable times. And if the counties surrounding us, specifically Columbia, are looking at banning them, you can't tell me that those patrons aren't going to come over here to our county. And in Columbia County, they've experienced multiple robberies, several shootings. And I'm just going to speak to, what I've heard from over there, speaking to their officials, is the folks leave the drinking establishments and they go to the internet cafes because it was 24 hours at the time. And, it's like my parents always said, nothing good happens after midnight. I'm a believer in that. Those aren't establishments that I'd want to see my children in, and nor would I want to see my children at a daycare or a gym, as Miss Skinner owns, next to an establishment like that, where maybe not some that great of activities are happening. So I mean, I'm with you. I agree with you.
And trust me, I give a lot of credibility to the state's attorney. See, he's back here this evening, kind of staying involved. I mean, they got things going on in Lake City and other counties. There's a lot of smart people out there. I don't claim to be the smartest person, but when I see all these people going in the same direction, that they're not good for society, and they're getting rid of them, there's a reason. It's not just because of what this commissioner thinks is the deal. I mean, there's a lot of people think that way.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously, what we have before us right here is, a moratorium and an ordinance that has to do with hours, but I'll say right here, and I'll deal with the consequences later. If Lake City, if it legally works, I'm going to be in support of getting rid of all of them. Now, I know that creates waves and friction, but it's that's just where I'm at. That doesn't mean it's where this board's at. That's just where I'm at.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, I would jump in the hot seat. When I first heard about it, I know that there's things happen, and I respect everybody's opinion. We all have opinions. Mr. Burnett have an opinion. Mr. Hammonds have a very valid opinion. If they're coming from a different county, Ms. Skinner, when she first came, she said she opened up her establishment, and those bullets don't know nobody. If someone is shooting, and you got kids or people going to the gym, someone get hurt, then you say, oh, I'm sorry, I hate to hear that. But they're coming from these other communities, other counties, because they're closing those establishments. Maybe there's something that we are not aware of why they're doing what they're doing. I don't want to bash nobody's business, no one's business, but business is business. And I remember when I took an accounting advancement course. You have to make tough choices and tough decisions to make the right decision. I think the right decision is to do what we're doing, handle our business in this community, in this county. I feel like I'm responsible for every individual in this county when it comes to letting anything happen, and I'm not afraid to put my name on the line or say what I got to say. I think they should be banned in the county. I feel that because at some point, something's going to happen, and we won't, sometimes you can't control that. So I'm not with it, and I guess I'm in the hardest of the seat, and I say ban, but I agree with the other two commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Fleming?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir. Commissioner White?
I know we're considering a moratorium on this, but at the same time, can we ban what's already in existence, or are they grandfathered in, or how does that, Mr. Pravat? Maybe you can speak to that.
Yes, sir. To go back and be able to stop one of the facility that is already in operation, federal courts have recognized there has to be a rational basis for doing that. Such a rational basis has to do with the health, welfare, and safety of the community. And it has to be data-driven to be able to do that. Not just necessarily, opinion, but data-driven to be able to withstand the challenges that have gone to Nassau County, Duval County, Marion County, those types of establishments for each of their bans.
If they're in there and the gambling that they're doing is illegal, that doesn't qualify?
Well, the gambling that's illegal would be illegal under state statute the way it is right now. We're just kind of adding a little bit more to it, so give us an opportunity to go in there and look and to make sure, a little bit more enforcement mechanism by this particular ordinance. If they are running an establishment that is a gambling establishment, it's still going to be able to be prosecuted by the state.
Any other questions?
So,
I'll just, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I mean, so what I'm hearing you say is you got to provide credible evidence to ban what's already in existence.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hale.
I agree with all of you guys. I think Mr. White is saying the same thing here. And I know it's not popular, but it's a double-edged sword. I'm sure those folks are renting those buildings from someone here in town that maybe that's a source of income for them, and I understand that. And again, I know we say that they prey on those folks, but you know, most of them are grown-ups and they need to be accountable as well. I understand that argument as well, but with that being said, I don't have a problem with, if we can't close those, hold it to the 2 we have, and as they go out, then do away with it. I don't have a problem with these timelines here, and no drinking and no minors and all that. And I agree with Mr. Tom. I appreciate him having an opinion on this. I know him very well. I know he doesn't have any skin in the game, like he said. I think he just doesn't want government being in the way, and I get that, and I understand that. But, you know, it's kind of like that cheesecake in the refrigerator. If it wasn't there, I wouldn't go to it every night, but but those things are here, and those folks that you guys say prey upon, it's just too easy for them, you know? So,
Mr. Chairman,
My opinion.
did we not have anybody here that owns one of these places to speak?
Do I have anyone in the audience this evening that is representative of an establishment that wishes to speak? No, sir.
Answers my question. Thank you.
and I did have one more, I know someone spoke to maybe the attorney that they're regulated by the state, and maybe our state attorney can clear this up. How often do they come in and regulate those guys? I mean, is it something they do on a regular basis, or is it more put upon our law enforcement to do this and report back to them? Yeah, if you don't mind, if you know anything about it, Mr. John.
Putting him on the spot.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Illegal gambling, they don't do it.
They just don't do it.
You got a lottery, you know, you have the highlight games, you have bingo, you have things, there are guidelines put in place. I haven't been to all your internet cafes, Commissioner, been to 2.
Okay.
In Columbia County homicide offices. That's what threw me there. I don't play the games, I've seen them.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're dealing with in those instances, assuming what you got is the same. I would draw the board's attention to Florida Statute 849.16 and say those are slot machines or devices. And as such, they're not complying with the state law. They're operating an illegal gambling establishment. This ain't an Indian casino. This ain't anything like that. This is a fly-by-night operation that sets up shop. You read that, I think you believe it and agree with it. And so, no, there is no regulation of an internet company. They're paying whatever licensing fee they are to get established here. And, you know, I've talked to law enforcement a lot about it. The ones I've seen are gambling.
Okay.
Misdemeanor offense is a humongous drain upon law enforcement to take all those machines and conduct undercover operations. But in my opinion, the ones I've seen, I can't tell you, I can't speak.
Right.
I have an internet cafe, but people use the internet, that's
Right.
great. Ain't nobody gonna play using it, they're gonna make money winning.
Okay.
Anyway, no,
Thank
sir,
you.
nobody is regulating and we call them internet cafes. You go to Columbia County, they don't say internet cafe, they say casino. Everyone, casino. You know, they call it internet cafe, but I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Appreciate that.
County's help, we could, I think, save a lot of money in effort for law enforcement if the message is wrong.
All right. Thank you.
Not afraid to, Commissioner, but I think it would be smart. I would encourage the board to follow what y'all are already talking about, moratorium, and then outright
Appreciate that.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner White, was you finished?
Yeah, I'm good.
Commissioner Hale?
Good.
Gentlemen, have any other comments from the board?
I mean, this is, I mean, like you said, it's a double-edged sword. There's going to be some unhappy people, but I think, and the majority and the concern for our county and our children, that I think we're going down the right road myself. Mr. Durrett speaks from experience. He handles a lot of counties, not just Suwannee. And, you know, he's seen worse things happen than we've seen here yet. So I think if we go ahead and, you know, get our cart going down the road, I think better off we'll be. Mr. Pravat can legally do that for us.
Mr. Chairman, my only question is, as we approve this and we approve the moratorium, are we going after the ones that are already established, or do we need to get Mr. Pravat to do something with that? Or
We would revisit that,
revisit?
yes.
So, from my understanding, the state's attorney saying that if we follow our directions, and as these fade out, you know, as you said, just altogether ban it, and it won't happen. And it won't happen to come back in here.
All right, gentlemen, at this time, do I have a motion on the floor for approval of an ordinance and also for the moratorium? The ordinance would put in place the hours of 10 a.m. to 12 midnight. And the moratorium at this time, just so I'm clear, would not allow any new ones to open.
Okay, if I could, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pravat?
I would like those procedurally to be done in two separate things.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Mr. Pravat, on section 1010, on the enforcement and the penalties, I know that we're going to revisit this topic later, but on section 1010, is there, those violations seem really lenient. Is there a way, and this may have to do with, you know, Florida statute, I don't know, but is there a way to kind of change that down to a 3 strikes and you're gone type scenario to make those penalties a little stiffer? I mean, a couple $100 is dropping.
Yes, sir, you can, but typically, I put in the language here that whenever we have a utilization of an enforcement method for by citation method, this is kind of what we've done for the last 15 years or so, utilizing this same procedure.
Okay.
So I just, like I said, I followed it.
Yeah, I understand, and I agree. I'm good with that. However, I would like to see if this board, I mean, my thoughts are is making these penalties a little stiffer. I mean, $100 for the first one, $200 for the second, $300, $400 for the fourth. I mean, around my house, 3 strikes and that's it, Bubba.
Amen.
I mean, yeah, if we're gonna have a habitual offender, they get 4 strikes here and $400. I mean, you know, $400 on the fourth one. I would like to ask Mr. Pravat and this board's opinion. I'm just one guy here, but can we tighten that up a little bit?
Yes, sir,
And-
you cannot exceed the $500 in any method of the enforcement under this citation method.
Well,
But 500 could be number one.
and 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And the fourth one, yeah, I don't know if we can pull licenses. I don't know how that works, but I would like to see those, if this board agrees, I would like to see stiffen that up a little bit myself.
Commissioner Lamb, I'm going to come right back to you. I got, Mr. Hancock would like to speak. Name and address for the record, sir?
Bo Hancock, 6135 Wiggins Road, Suwannee
Welcome.
County. You're talking about a moratorium. Is this a moratorium in perpetuity? Is there a time limit on it or what? Because you're talking about banning, and I don't know if you can legally have a moratorium in perpetuity.
No, sir, we'll put a date on it. That would be when I get to the second part.
Yeah, because I just was sitting here and I'm thinking, well, if you could do that, you don't have to worry about banning it. But I don't think the courts would uphold anything like that.
No, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Hancock.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Mr.
sir, I
Lane.
didn't, I can't see him. No, those are all my comments. I mean, you guys need to tell how you feel about that. That's just my opinion.
I don't have a problem with changing the
Good.
penalty. Obviously, I don't really know how you can write the language. I mean, do you just give 3 violations, and is there a type of language that you can close it down at that point, or no?
Yes, so you go for injunctive relief by doing that and moving forward as an habitual offender type language and be able to close them in that fashion. It wouldn't be under the citation method, but it would be under the injunctive relief portion, which is later in the enforcement section.
Thank you, Mr. Pravat. So, Commissioner Land, just to clarify, you'd like to see the number changed to $500 per violation, and 3 violations, that's over.
Yes, sir.
And then we would go to,
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yes, sir.
uh,
I mean, these, from my understanding, these locations are extremely profitable,
yes,
extremely profitable. And I don't think $500 is too much to, that's not, they're not going to have to put.
they'd
more.
probably pay that a day just to keep going.
Yeah, that's right.
At this time, would you like to make that in the form of a motion for the ordinance part?
Yes,
And
sir.
you
I
will-
would like to make the motion that we approve this ordinance contingent on Mr. Pravat changing section 1010, letter A, under one, $500 per violation. And after the third one, we seek for,
Injunctive relief.
yeah, whatever that fancy word was.
I just heard him say it.
We go after their license. How about that?
Is there any other language we need to add to that, Mr. Pravat?
Well, it'll be changing a later section as well, but I get the gist of it.
Those other 3 as well, too.
So I have a motion by Commissioner Land. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner White. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Land. At this time, we'll move to item number 2, which is consider a moratorium on allowing any additional internet cafes in Suwannee County. Do I have that? And
Motion approved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleming.
Now, this is where we need to put the how
The
many
time.
days, or a time period, whatever.
Can it be indefinite?
I don't think so.
Sir?
Can it be indefinite?
No, sir. No, sir. A moratorium is a period of time that you think long enough for you to be able to investigate the cafes, to be able to consider what you want to be able to go forward as you regulate them or do whatever you're going to do with them, but you need to have a reasonable period of time.
I would like
Consider it.
to see like 120 days or something like that.
6 months? What about 6 months?
Up to 180 days has been ruled not unreasonable. It's reasonable.
What do you gentlemen feel?
180
180
days.
days.
180 days. And in the meantime, that we will be revisiting the items or the issues that's before us. So, okay, at this time, I have a motion by Commissioner Fleming for a moratorium for 180 days.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Hale. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, I will close public hearing. I have one more, and I still got your item, Commissioner Lamb, but
Yeah, I'm good.
I want to get, we have one additional agenda item also. Get my papers here. Oh, I got, yeah, I just got that. I had my papers stacked up on me, but we'll go ahead and get this additional agenda item. Item number 13, task order for construction engineering inspection services. Mr. Harris.
That was, number 13 is actually, that's backup to go with the item that you approved.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it had mentioned the agreement and the task order, but we didn't have the task order in time for your packet, so we emailed those out to everyone actually today.
You're correct. I'll stand corrected.
Yeah, so that's been approved.
My apologies. We'll move to item number 17. Discuss with possible board action roadside litter pickup bids. Mr. Harris.
Commissioners, I've provided information to you on this. I don't really have a recommendation. It'll be up to y'all to decide what you want to do, but the reality is that we, for the last year, didn't have any inmates. Now we have some that we've gotten from the county jail, I think 4, or maybe we've got a total now of, 4 from there and 4 from the prison for some period of time. We're not sure how long. In fact, I was going to speak to some of this a little bit later, but I'm going to go ahead and just comment on it now, and I'll give you some information with a handout in just a moment. The legislature is talking about shutting down some prisons, state prisons, and they're not telling us which ones they're talking about shutting down yet, so we don't know what the impact is going to be either. One of the bills speaks of shutting down 4 state prisons. Another one speaks of shutting down 2 state prisons. They recognize that we haven't had work crews from these prisons for nearly a year. That was the catalyst for this particular agenda item, was the fact that we use some of those crews to pick up the roadside litter. The mowing season has started, and I had pointed this out to you before, that we're about to turn roadside litter into roadside confetti. So I had provided some information on an estimate on what it would cost if we hired the people, purchased the equipment, and just went ahead and did it ourselves, because we're not going to stop mowing. And then we went ahead and got bids from companies. You've got the tabulation on that. I contacted the company that was the lowest bid, and I said, okay, I need for you to go ahead and forecast where you're going to be each year for the next 5 years, and reconcile your numbers with the minimum wage requirement. So we ran those numbers, and he sent those to me, and you have those in your packet, and you can compare those. And again, this is just a 5-year snapshot. I just wanted you to see what it would look like over a 5-year time frame. And then we compared it to what it would cost for county employees to do the same thing if we put together a crew to handle that and manage it. So I've provided the information to you, and it'll be up to the board to decide what you want to do. I mean, we're going to continue to use what county jail inmates, we're going to use those as much as we can. I'll also tell you, and some of you are very much aware of this, that when we had the inmates, they don't only pick up roadside litter, they also work on our tree trim crew. They help us in maintenance of traffic when we're and picking up limbs and cutting trees up and all those types of things. So it's a pretty big hit for us when we had people out there, manpower, to help us with a lot of these other services that we're trying to provide countywide, and that went away. So we're working with a skeleton crew now, doing the best that we can and trying to stay ahead of the mowing tractors, because that's where our biggest problem is going to be as we continue mowing.
Gentlemen, I have any comments or questions for Mr. Harris?
I will make a comment. I had a conversation a week ago today with the warden at Suwannee CI. And he is well aware of the information that Mr. Harris just spoke about potentially closing some facilities. He wasn't concerned very much at all about Suwannee CI being one of them due to its age, relatively new. They have a lot older sites across the state in need of repair and so forth. What he did tell me was that the DOC, Department of Corrections, has a major staffing problem as far as correctional officers, and that the department was 95% sure going to no longer provide the officer to monitor the inmates. However, they were going to continue, as long as our employees had the certification, in which I do believe we have 3, 4 employees that are certified to monitor vetted inmates on these crews, they were going to continue to release and start to release those crews to our employees as soon as possibly within a few weeks. As long as we come pick them up, have the certifications, and our employees are vetted through DOC, which I believe we have some that are. And we would continue to use their inmates just due to their staffing issue. They're not going to provide staff. But, I mean, those are his comments. I don't want to speak too much. I'll be putting words in his mouth. But I did have that conversation with him, and he felt pretty confident that 2 crews, maybe 3, for us, as long as we picked them up and provided the.
That's Suwannee CI.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate your comments. Anyone else got anything they'd like to add? I mean, one thing I will say is we got to have more people. I mean, it doesn't matter. The prison's great. They do a lot. But the problem is if it's foggy, if there's a chance of rain, if there's a cold front coming in, they won't give them to you. I mean, that's what we've been up against.
That's very true, very true.
I mean, it's, they're just very protective of their people, not letting those folks out if there's just any type of day that's not normal, and it gets us behind. I mean, it's, I don't like spending money, fellas, trust me, because I'm not spending my money, this is taxpayers' money. But when I ride down the road and I see trash all over, I got a problem. And I'm proud of this county, and I'm proud of the people that live here, and I have to figure out a way to get their trash picked up and make this county presentable, and keep it beautiful like it is. And I'm willing to listen to whatever y'all want to do, but I mean,
Mr. Chairman, can I make
Yes,
a
sir.
comment, please? And I think I made this statement before. Even when we had inmates, we couldn't keep up. And here's part of the problem. You have tractors that are able to go out there and mow 10 miles or more a day. And when you put a handful of inmates on the ground in front of those tractors on foot, because they're not using equipment, you can't put them on four-wheelers or side-by-sides, they're not going to do 10 miles a day on foot. A crew isn't, ahead of a mowing crew. It just doesn't happen. So we have never been able to keep up with the litter problem on the side of the road. And the inmates didn't create that problem. I guarantee you most of it's probably adults that live here, driving down the road with the top of the garbage cans off, headed to a collection site. I've seen it. But having said that, I don't like spending the money either. But this problem is what it is, and we're trying to provide the service that the residents want us to provide, and keeping up with the mowing. The difficulty is we're out there, we're not able to keep up with the litter pickup ahead of the mowers. And I hope that the inmates are freed up. I don't mind telling you, we did have 4 certified inmate crew leaders. One of those resigned about 2 or 3 months ago. We didn't fill that position. Only now I'm looking at maybe filling that position, not because I've got enough inmates, but because I need a man with a bag to go out there and start picking up garbage. We don't have other staff every other staff that we've got in Public Works is dedicated to a piece of equipment or something else. We don't have people on the payroll for picking up litter. But that's the point that we're at right now.
I would ask you gentlemen to consider us putting our own crew on. I don't, everybody feels different about it, but I don't know. When the county can call and when we schedule our tractors to go somewhere and we got a crew that works for us, I mean, obviously, if you have it subbed out, you can schedule those folks too, but I mean, we put these people to picking up trash and they never quit. I mean, it's just a fact. And then we get all the help we can get from the prisons also, and at times we can double up but I'm willing to listen, whatever you folks.
I mean, I don't disagree with you, as far as there's a problem there. Unfortunately, the labor workforce out there, if you think you're gonna go out there and hire 4, 5, 6 folks at $10 an hour and tell them to walk down that road and pick up trash, you got another thing coming. That's not gonna happen. We can't find employees, pay them $20 an hour, to drive a air-conditioned truck. It just is.
We're not
it's
gonna make
be
them
a
walk, though.
tough-
We're gonna let them ride a four-wheeler.
Even at that, finding the $10 employee is, at $10 an hour is the sheet I'm looking at that we used for year one to come up with $209,000 for estimated costs for year one, and that includes workman's comp. I mean, you're talking about $250,000. And that's just labor. That doesn't take into consideration the vehicle to pull the trailer to haul the four-wheelers, and the four-wheelers and the maintenance go around with it. The labor force is tough. It's a ever-fighting battle in the private sector.
All of that equipment is listed in there, Commissioner.
Well, I'm just looking at the 209,000. That's what I'm talking about in year one. I see that, but.
I will say this, I'm excited about your sentiments, and if you've got a better solution, I'm all ears.
I'd just like to know where we're gonna get the money.
I mean, that's where I was going with that is.
How we gonna pay for it?
It's
That's-
tough,
I
we're in
need
some
to-
tough times financially with COVID and still some unknowns coming down the pipe, but this is I mean, you're talking about $200,000 in labor this year, but you're talking about $1.3 million just in labor over 5 years. I mean, you hire these folks and you work them for a year. I mean, what are we gonna do, fire them, tell them to go home? And what are we gonna do with these four-wheelers we bought? I mean, I'm throwing out hypothetical scenarios for us.
Give me just a second, there's a gentleman.
I can't. I'm sorry.
Name and address for the record. I apologize, Commissioner Land.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all.
My name's Moses Klepper. I reside at 14581 102nd Path, Live Oak. Preventative. I was sitting back here listening to y'all. What if, and I don't know if we could do it, but what if we were to require at those collection sites, every pickup truck or vehicle coming in be covered, or the trash be contained in garbage bags? I mean, they have the gates going in, the ones I've been to have the gates going, could be easily monitored, and then we don't need all these millions of dollars picking up trash. You know, the trash, if it is, like Mr. Harris said, coming mostly from trash cans, lids blowing off or whatever, I think that would reduce it greatly.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Chairman, that's an excellent comment, and it's actually a state law that it's supposed to be covered up and secured, and that stuff isn't supposed to be blowing out. That's Florida statute, and it's been that way. Now, I don't disagree. If you want to try to police them at the gates and turn people away, you tell me what you want to do, and we can try that too.
But I think, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, but I think we tried that, didn't the sheriff? Sheriff, wasn't there an issue with trash, the trash blowing out and y'all finding some trash on the sides of the roads that were?
Most of that's illegal dumping
Yeah.
that we.
Yeah, well, we're talking about the, with actual, when Mr. Harris put all the signs up, before that, Mr. Harris talked about, we'd have some of the deputies assigned, when they could, near these collection sites, and if they seen, just like I say, the Florida statute where the load wasn't contained or tied down, then, we'd write some citations, but then, that's, that for someone to say that all the time, watch these garbage sites, we don't really have enough people to do that, but we've done what we could on it, on that part there. But like I said, we'll do what we can, anything we do to help you out on it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm also, looking at those figures there, but we still gotta have trash picked up. There you go again, we'd be kicking the can down the road again. If the inmates can't make it because of the weather or the rain, and you got constituents calling and say, I got trash. I've had several calls, individuals saying, I got trash out on my road. I got trash out just scattered, just littered on the road.
Yeah,
and no one to go pick it up. So when we have these crews, these hirees that could get this job done, and I think we have less of an issue.
yeah, one thing that we do quite a bit too, though, is that, is that we'll get calls, about, like several bags, full bags alongside the road. We'll do then, we'll go there and we'll actually look through the, the garbage, and a lot of times we'll find a name or a number in there. And then at that point in time, we'll contact whoever we find in the garbage site, and then go there and see if it's them, So either we'll charge them or have them come pick it up. So we do that quite a bit when there's like a big garbage bag, Now, we don't do it just for different pieces alongside the road, That's all we'd be doing. But for a substantial amount of alongside the road, we do look at it and find, or hopefully we can find the owner. And normally we do. We find some type of mail in there with some name and address on it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate your comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
again, I just go back to, and I'm kind of with Travis, Mr. Land, on the cost of this. As a private sector employer, I can tell you the same thing he echoed there. If you think $10 an hour is going to get this done, it's not happening. I'm just telling you straight up.
And, Mr. Chairman, I totally agree with that, because we're having a hard time in my business finding folks to drive a truck. But what we have done, and I'm in favor of this, is you find someone maybe that you pay a little more. Again, where's the funding going to come from? We got to figure that out. But someone that could be more of a hybrid that can do more than just pick up trash. Maybe there's other things that we can use in other fields, whether it be the tree trimming or anything like that. I mean,
I can tell you where the money's going to come from. There's no mystery there. It's going to come from the general fund. And it simply has never existed there before, but it would be in there just like every other thousands of items that are in your budget documents every year. I'll just go back a few years and share some things with you that are kind of scary. When I got here, we had two nearly antique tree trimming tractors. Commissioner Fleming would probably remember those. We had welded the frames back together 15 to 20 times. The booms would break off on a regular basis, and we needed more equipment. We were trying to dig underwater rock in the mine with an excavator that wouldn't dig deep enough, wouldn't even enable us to comply with the terms of our contract on digging underwater rock. So we had the wrong piece of equipment. We had 5 nearly antique dump trucks, and every day 3 of them were in the shop. So every day we had 3 dump truck operators riding on the patch truck because their trucks were in the shop. And we had a workshop at Dowling Park. And that's just some of the items that we talked about on that day. And the commissioners had told me, they said, we want to improve the level of service in the county, and we need for you to come up with a plan. I said, okay, I'll come up with a plan. So we had a workshop at Dowling Park, and I touched on the subject of spending money and buying more equipment or leasing more equipment. And we had a buyback program with graders and some other things, but we had to get real creative. And it was startling. It was a shock to think about trying to improve the level of service for the county. But there was a commitment to do it. And all of those items ultimately got procured. And that's why today, instead of having 2 antique tractors that stayed in the shop most of the time for tree trimming, you now have 6 tractors out there doing the job, and we're actually able to perform the work. That level of service improved. And instead of digging 18 to 20 feet deep with an excavator in that mine down there, we can now dig 50 feet deep. So it slowed down the burn rate on the acreage in the mine, and we were able to comply with the terms of the agreement, but it cost money to do it. And I could go on and on and on. You see, we've got 10 dump trucks now. We have 14 graders. We're out there improving the level of service, but it costs money to do it. Now, no one likes to spend money, and I agree. Let's not spend any more than we have to. So I'm interested in the most creative thing that we can come up with. It costs as little as possible. And I can't sit here and argue that we can accomplish this at $10 an hour. I don't have any idea. That was the starting point. If If y'all decide that it needs to be $12 an hour or $14 an hour, and we can use them for other things, that's fine with me. But I think, at the very least, we need to agree on some type of starting point. Because at this point, we would simply be trying to supplement the small number of inmates that we are getting. And I hope that that increases, but I don't know if or when that's going to happen.
Well, I'm gonna say something, and it's not gonna be popular, but that's okay. I understand your level of service story. I don't really understand what digging rock and excavators got to do with picking up trash. I know it correlates to
Money.
money and the level of service, but I'm gonna talk about today. And in today's world, we do have a trash problem. I'm not saying that we don't have a trash problem. I've gotten the calls just like everybody else that's sitting up here on this board. And I've had some mad folks. And if we agree to do this and it gets out my district that we spent $1.5 million to pick up some trash, I'm gonna have a lot of mad folks. The fact of the matter is we already got some issues lingering here with our waste disposal and collection that has got to be tackled here pretty quick. And with that said, we may need every dime that we can scrape up out of our budget in the
I agree.
next 60 days,
I agree
30 to
with you.
60 days. So if nothing else, I would ask this board to consider tabling, and I'm just one, tabling this expenditure and this task. I know it needs to be tackled. I just don't know that the timing's now with our waste disposal and we got a big problem that's been kicked down the road that we got to tackle pretty quick. And it may take a lot of money. We just don't know. And I would just say maybe we put the brakes on this for a minute, but hey, I'm just one person.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Harris, when you do put this in the budget, will this come under solid waste? How would you budget this item out? Where would it come from? What department?
Well, a budget is solid waste. It doesn't have to come from solid waste. It'd be up to the board to decide where you want to put it.
Well, I'm just
It could be a
thinking,
transfer into the road department. If you do a transfer in, it wouldn't come from gas taxes. If you do a transfer in from general revenue into the road department, it could be a part of the road department budget.
well, I mean, my thinking on it is I'm kind of like Mr. Land. I think we table it. We got to have some discussions on that anyway. And if we're going to pay for this level of service, I think it's going to have to be attached to the assessments. I mean, that's just where it's going to have to come from. If people want the garbage picked up, we'll have to pay to pick the garbage up.
And all that goes into a reason why I pulled number 6. It ties into this. And it's just, we got, item number 6 says whatever it says about doing this, hiring this firm to come in here and spending $70,000 for them to evaluate our fire and our waste assessments. We're charging $130 a house right now, and everybody here knows that we got one sealed bid back from Waste Management, and it almost more than doubled. So, and our current contract expires in May. That's next month. And their bid almost doubled what they're gonna charge us to haul our trash off. And, I mean, we got some decisions to make, but I mean, that's where I'm at. I respect Mr. Fleming's opinion. He's been here, done this a lot.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yeah, I've seen a lot of these and quite a few of these, and I have to go on history. And we were successful. And you asked a question, and what did the extra line rock mean, but it was money, Commissioner Land. It was money that, a decision, and that was business. It was business. And he had to go back and get that, but I want to finish what I'm saying. I think what Mr. Harris was saying was that when we had an excavator that was digging 25 feet, 18 feet, but we got a drag line to get the rest of the 50 feet. 50 feet, that was saving money. I know you probably have And I'll probably be one, because I'm gonna be in your district. Angry about the taxes going up, money, stuff like that. But at the same time, if everybody out in District 3 would complain about your trash litter, and you start scratching your head, I mean, it's a twofold question. It's twofold. Commissioner Stapleton said that he don't like to see the garbage. I don't either. I don't like to see the grass up on the road. What we have to do tonight, put our heads together and let's come together and we'll worry about what come later, where the money's coming from. The money's here. The money's here. We got to get it done. We got to get it done, or we got to table it and come back with a solution. Give Mr. Harris some time to come back with a solution. Now, it said $10 on here. Well, what about $12? And throw it out now.
I didn't mean to cut in, Commissioner Fleming, and I appreciate your comments. Here's the situation I'm in with it, though, and I want to try to figure something out, because I got 6 brand-new tractors and just ready to start mowing, and you hadn't got a phone call till you get one when they mow some trash over that wasn't picked up. And them tractors have been sitting. They've been sitting all winter, see, and they just getting cranked up. So now is when, I'm telling you, it's when the rubber meets the road. Now, I will say this, gentlemen, this is an idea. I don't mind throwing this out there. I understand y'all have some heartburn with hiring additional people on the payroll. How about, if we want to take some time and figure this out, let's put it out for bid and take 6-month or a year contract and let them get our trash picked up. And then that amount of time, we come back and revisit it, and you don't have anybody on the payroll. And we got our trash picked up. It did cost money, but it gives us some time.
I would much rather see us go on a shorter contract to handle the problem today. Because of COVID, we lost the inmates. We're behind the 8 ball. I'd never said it wasn't a problem. I just worried about the funding and this long-term 5-year, whatever it was, contract, and the commitment to hire these people on as employees. So yeah, if we want to go back to bid and do a 6-month contract and let's pick the trash up as a one-time shot to get in front of the mowers, I mean, that's a lot better than.
Mr. Chairman, and I agree, and I listen to everybody speak here. I will tell you, and you said it, and I think everybody said, we do have a problem. We got such a problem that I got a call from another commissioner from another county going through my district, questioning me about it and telling me I had trash in my district. I mean, I'm serious. And I went out and picked up the couple bags that were there just for that reason, so they didn't get scattered. So I agree, we do need to do something, whether it's a 6-month contract, a workforce program where these folks go to sign up and come out and we supervise them. I've done some of that over my years. I don't know if you guys entertain that.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
Mr. Harris, could we be successful in getting a 6-month contract to pick up trash?
I'm sure someone will give us a price. Let me say this, we did go to bid.
Right.
In the bid specification, we told them that they should assume that it would be a 1-year contract. We did not advertise a 5-year contract.
Okay.
What I did, though, for your benefit, was I went ahead and contacted them and had them forecast where they would be for the next 5 years, and then I had our finance department run those numbers and extend them out for 5 years so that you would have a much broader picture of a longer-term impact.
And I'm looking at the tabulation from the bid process. So basically, if we use the numbers that's in here, we don't have to go back out for bid. If we wanted to choose someone, they could go to work.
Well, now, if you want to try to change it to 6 months.
No, I'm saying if we went with a year.
1 year.
If you went with 1 year, you've got the number for a year.
And that's
good.
That's what they say. They say here. This company SSG says 52 weeks a year, 40 hours a week. The increase each year is to keep in accordance with the Florida, which that won't apply if we just do it 1 year. So at $292,842, that's their bid for year 1. That would be the number.
Let me look at my information. I give it to.
That's for 6.
Well, while we're on that, I just want to say, I get the garbage problem. I get the phone calls just like everybody else. And I'm not against picking up the garbage or paying to do it. All I was saying is, where's the money at and how we going to pay for it? And I'm in agreement with the 1-year contract. I like that versus hiring people. So I would like to try that first And so that's where I'm at with it. I just want to put that out.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I can answer the question about the money. In general revenue, you've got unanticipated revenue in there that will cover the cost. It really isn't unanticipated, but we're treating it that way because it wasn't budgeted revenue, so we have it to cover it. The 292,842 is the bid number for 1 year with that particular company. They were the low bid. If you look at the tabulation, you'll see that companies responded with all kinds of different responses by the week and month and everything, but if you multiplied them out, this was the company with the lowest rate.
Do we know any history on this company? I see they're out of Orlando. And I see
They had
another one
references in there.
that's out of Lake City.
We can call all of the references as well.
And how do we hold them accountable for, I mean, is somebody going to supervise this?
They're going to have to be supervised, and they'll have to, what they'll do is they'll take their guidance each day from the mowing crews, and they'll know in advance where the mowing crews are going to go. So they'll have to run ahead of them.
We've never done this before as a county. Do we know where the bar's at as far as how many miles a four-man crew can get in a day walking versus, I mean, where's the bar at? What's par on a crew picking up litter side
I
of the road?
can't help you with that. You're right, this is the first time.
Where I was going
This
with
is
that
the
was,
first
how
time.
do we know that, I mean, this bid is 52 weeks, 40 hours a week, and at that number, I mean, how do we say, hey, man, you only picked up a mile, you should have at least got 4 miles? I mean, I'm not, how do? is
My
there-
benchmark is going to be the miles that those tractors are running at the very least. That's going to be a minimum. So they
Our
need-
mowing tractor's running.
That's right.
Keep pace with that.
That's right.
Yeah, they'll have four-wheelers and
They know where they're going with those tractors.
I just want to make sure we getting our money's worth. If we do this, who's the expert on knowing that these folks are getting down the highway?
Today, we don't have an expert, but it shouldn't take as long.
well, it's got to be common sense that if you got 6 people out there, I mean, I don't know how many that's going to be that's going, obviously, they probably got 1 crew leader and then they got 5 four-wheelers, but I mean, I don't know the details on that, but obviously, I mean, if they don't meet the expectations, that we got legal counsel over there, we have to get out of the contract.
By the time that we put our agreement together with these people, it'll give us enough leverage where ultimately, at the end of the day, we've got to be satisfied. And if we're not satisfied, then we don't continue.
How many mowing crews are, is it 2 tractors?
We have
in 3
4
parts of the county, or?
4 tractors.
And how are they split up? 3 running together?
1 on the south end and 3 at the north end that actually handle everything except essentially your district.
So you got trash and grass.
And you know, Mr. Chairman, I have rode with some of those supervisors, and I asked them, how do you keep up? How do you keep up with these little bit of people? And there's a problem. We get more people moving in, influx of people moving into our county. I was in District 5 last week, and riding with a supervisor, and I saw the motor grader, what he was doing. I asked him some questions, and I asked him how, just general questions. And I was amazed at Public Works, how they have these guys scheduled, these supervisors scheduled, and what's done in this county. That's what excites me when I see these people, the way they operate.
Mm-hmm.
They're keeping our county clean. They're keeping our roads mowed up. And as Commissioner Stapleton said, these tractors been sitting. And I like to see the roads mowed up. I like to see them mowed up. I like to see them clean. I like to see no litter.
And I don't like to see them mow them flowers either when they first come out in the spring. You go around them flowers in that ditch.
So we either do it or we don't do it. And we have a junkie county, and our constituents they're gonna be chattering.
Let's consider giving this a shot for 12 months and,
Well, I'm all for it.
and then, you know, in the
I'm
meantime.
good with that.
I'm good with that.
As we can go back to it, revisit, we can get our update and see how they're doing, see if that's,
Well, and that gets us through a budget process, and
Gets
we
us through a
can,
budget process, hopefully past COVID, and DOC may iron out their problems by then, and we
we
get
may
back
not
to
need no
normal.
people.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
I mean, we may have plenty of,
You need that in the form of motion? We just gonna,
yes, we're gonna need that in the form of a motion that we're gonna,
Go ahead and award the bid and just authorize the county attorney and county administrator to work the details out in the agreement.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a motion that we go with the 12 months and we award the bid and allow the county attorney to go ahead and do the execution of, it's gotta be done.
I got a motion by Commissioner Fleming.
And we're awarding to the low bid company. And
Low bid company.
You've got the name of it over there on
Yes.
the,
Safeway Services Group.
SSG.
SSG maintenance. Unit?
right,
Yes.
that's correct.
I have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Fleming.
I'll second that.
I have a second by Commissioner Land. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that we got that situated for a little bit. Let's see. All right. We will back up to item number 6.
Okay?
Commissioner Land.
Yes, sir. Try to keep this short, but this item number 6 in the consent agenda, it states here that, and I do believe I've researched enough to understand that this assessment by Neighbors Giblin is done somewhat annually as far as justifying the assessments, but there toward the bottom, it says the cost for the study, revision, and reimposition of the fire assessment will be $41,500, and the cost for solid waste will be $30,000. As noted in the quote, the county will be responsible for other associated costs on an as-needed basis. My question to you has to do, I'll separate them, one with fire and one with solid waste. And I will say this, I don't know if the fire assessment needs to be raised or not. I'm indifferent on that part, but as far as my question goes is about the process. How many of you commissioners are willing to raise the fire assessment to, $118? That we're currently paying $100 per residential structure, right, Mr. Harris? It's $100 a structure, residential.
Right.
Right. How many of you commissioners would want to see us go to 118? And the reason I pull 118 is because our last study done by Neighbors, the same firm, Neighbors, Giblin, and Government Services Group together, they capped it at 118. So my thought process is we're under the cap now. We're going to go spend $41,500 to this law firm and Government Services Group to tell us that we can go to 150 or 120 or some number above 118 due to I'm sure it will be due to the age of this report. Why spend the 41.5 and we're still well under the assessment, and we haven't discussed this amongst ourselves in a form of a meeting on what the need is and what an $18 increase would do to the budget and the fire budget. And I'm not stepping on Eddie's feet at all. I'm asking about the process. I'm not discussing the need. I'm talking about the process. This expense is $41,000 for these guys to come in here and tell us that we can go up on the fire assessment. We know that's what they're going to say. We just don't know the number. Have we kicked this around ourselves and combed through the budget to determine exactly what our needs and wants are to tell these folks? So, this is another one of those things, the can's been kicked down the road, and it's going to land in our board's lap to try to figure it out. And, that's the first question. And the second one, I'll follow it up to do with solid waste. My concern with hiring these consultants to pay these folks an additional $30,000 to come in here and to do an analysis and tell us where we need to be on our assessments without us combing through this budget on this waste disposal. We haven't talked about it. We haven't had a workshop. I've looked through this budget and I have found recurring numbers. And I'll just give you one example. And I'm sure Mr. Harris will speak to this, but budget account 403, landfill closures 1 and 2. We budget $539,000 in 2019, 2020. We only spent 117. This year we budget 500-something thousand, and we're into the 6th month, we've only spent 102. If we give these folks these numbers, I mean, there's some numbers in here we need to talk about to figure out, we got, and I know this is in your district, Mr. Chairman, but I believe the previous board, we allotted $200,000 in here to build a collection site in Welburn, and I believe that was decided not to do. But that money's still in the budget, and that budget that is set is what these folks are going to run their analysis off of. So
There's going to be a site in Welburn.
okay,
There's going to be a site in Welburn.
all right, we're going to build a new site there. That's the $200,000 I'm talking about. Okay, well,
It's just not going to be on the location that it originally was.
all right. Well, I'm staying corrected. I'm sorry about that, but I don't know where that site's at. Have we determined that site? Because I didn't.
Yes, we
We own it.
own the
Okay.
property.
All right. Well, it's stuff like that me as a commissioner, I'm not aware of that. We haven't talked about that, but we're authorizing this company we're going to spend $71,000 for these folks to come in here and do an analysis on our fire budget and our solid waste disposal budget. And as a board together, we have not combed through those numbers. I want those numbers to be solid and firm and everybody know where they're at before we hand them over to that firm to run assessments on them. If not, you give somebody bad numbers, they're going to give you some bad numbers back. I'd like for us to have some type of
They're
workshop
going
to
to use
discuss
audited
this.
numbers. They would use audited numbers. Those are audited by our CPA.
I understand that they're audited, but there's some line items in here, like for instance, like I just talked about. Explain to me why in landfill closures 1 and 2, we budget $539,000 in 2019, 2020, and we only spent 117. There's additional funds there that's been sitting there since 2019. We budget the same amount of money this year, and we're in month 6, and we're at 102,000. So what I'm saying is there's $400,000 there that's sitting there that more than likely we have been over budgeting the last couple years. Let's get to that before we have these folks come in here and say, y'all need to go up to $150 per house on your residential. Every resident in the house, we're going up on assessment. This is where y'all need to be. Don't tell me that until we figure out these numbers need to be, that we need to go through these numbers a little better before we ask folks to come in here and look at them, because clearly, for the past 2 years, just in that one, and I could give you some more, but just in that one account, we're over budgeting $350,000. That's $350,000 that we could use today or next year and not pass to these folks, not pass the retired veteran on a fixed income, making $1,000 a month. I'm thinking about that assessment, because when it comes back at, y'all need to go to $200 a month, because like we talked about earlier, Waste Management doubled their bid on what they're going to charge us to pick our garbage up and haul it off. Doubled it. That nut's got to be cracked. Now, we don't know we're not there yet. And I'm not comfortable spending $71,000 to have this firm come in here and tell me what it needs to be until we go through these numbers together as a board and make sure that we got them, our pencil sharp, because we know that Waste Management, they're the only game in town. They're the only folks that bid on that bid, only one. So I'm just asking the board to maybe consider a workshop or something to go through these numbers before we spend $71,000 on some.
Well, I don't.
Mr. Chairman, can I speak to the specific question that Mr. Land asked about the landfill closure line? And I don't have what you're looking at. But if you're genuinely speaking of a landfill closure line, that's a statutory requirement.
I'm talking about the entire budget, the whole budget.
I can't speak
everything
to
in
the
that
whole
budget.
budget sitting here right now, but on a landfill closure item, I can.
I understand that.
We have an obligation for post-closure expenses, and we have to budget that, and those are restricted funds for specific purposes, and we can't use them for anything else to try to buy down the assessment. They are specifically only used for post-closure expenses for the landfills.
Would you like for me to go through some line items? I don't really want to get into this
No.
here.
You
We
wanna
can
have
do
a
this later.
workshop? I don't care
I
if we
mean,
have a
leach
workshop.
agent take, I mean.
Gentlemen, listen. Let's keep the peace here. Here's what I think, here's where you're at, Commissioner Land. I think you should understand your frustration that you're not comfortable with it. At that point, I feel like you would just like to have the item pulled, and you would like to have a workshop.
That's what I was asking.
So that's
Well, until he started giving me.
But I'm
credit
saying
for
we can have a
statutes,
workshop, and we can
I just want to go
discuss
through
it.
the,
Sir?
I just want to go through the budget. That's all I was saying.
But I'm saying you're not comfortable voting on this tonight. You would like
Correct.
to have a workshop to better understand it.
Correct. Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen,
Mr. Chairman, let's do a workshop.
let's do a workshop.
Can I ask a question before we get there? Is this neighbors Giblin and this other one that Mr. Land's talking about, the 70-something $1,000, is that some state mandated deal that we have to do? Is it optional?
You're going to have a study in order to justify your number.
I mean, there's.
Neighbors Giblin is actually the consultant firm that helps us with the assessment each year. But they also, if a study is done and it comes back with information that the board wants to, if the board were to decide that you're going to change your assessment, then they're the ones that are going to have to set all that up, because there's a lot of paperwork that goes with that, because it goes out to every household.
I mean, in defense of this, and I understand Commissioner Land's frustration with just feels like money's getting wasted, but there is a lot of things that takes backup documentation that has to be done and studies have to be done. And I don't have a problem in the world with pulling this and we have a workshop to understand exactly what that, I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. I want everybody to get along, let's work to a common goal and be respectful. That's all. And trust me, I understand your frustration.
No, I understand what you're saying. The backup material, that has to be done annually, and that, the cost of that is $9,000-$10,000. But this here, hands-in, full analysis to evaluate what we should be charging, if we're undercharging or whatnot, that's a lot more in-depth and a lot more expensive. That's the part that I'd like to have a workshop about, to discuss. I mean, I want my pencil sharp when I go tell my people, hey, we're going up on your, we got to go up on your fire assessment, and this is the bottom, this is the lowest we can do to get it done.
Well, at the end of the day, it's going to have to go up to provide the services. It's just a fact.
We understand.
And everybody understands that.
Yes, sir, 100%.
And we have to be respectful of the citizens, but we have to provide the service. When they call, we have to be there.
No
So
disagreement.
Whatever that number is, we just, it's part of life. I mean, gas goes up, taxes go up.
Cost of doing business.
Yeah.
I get it.
It just is what it is, and it's not comfortable. Here again, we've had a lot of uncomfortable things to discuss tonight. This is another one of them. It's not comfortable, but we're going to do the right thing, and we're going to have our people have the tools to work with and to respond to the citizens of this county and provide. I don't want just good service. I want A1 service. And I think they've been providing that
Oh, absolutely.
at a lesser number than other counties.
They've been working lean for a while.
Yes.
I'll commend them on, I will
So,
commend them on that.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to be clear on this. We cannot raise an assessment until this is done. Is that what I'm hearing?
On your fire assessment, you have, because of the old study that was done, which very likely is outdated at this point, but that was done 8 years ago, and you have the ability to raise your assessment to 118 under the current.
The current assessment from back then, we can
cap.
go to 118. We're at 100.
Right.
But on the solid waste, you don't have a study that is current enough to even consider that to justify a number.
Mr. Chairman,
It's 15 years old.
we've been dealing with this issue over and over and over. Now the time has come.
Right.
And
It's one of those kick the can.
yeah, that's right. It's been
and it-
kicked down the road.
It's-
And,
it's- Yeah.
and thanks to Commissioner Land for stepping out there. Don't want the limb sawed off on you, but this has been an issue, been an ongoing thing. Knew it was coming.
Knew it.
Now is the time. I know where you're at, so I think the best way to eliminate that, let's just take it to a workshop and get some better understanding and come back. It's got to happen. It's going to happen. It's got to happen. So
My,
suggestion would be.
my question is, how long is it going to take to do this?
To do the study.
If you approved it today, how long is it going to take to get this done?
The study you're saying?
Yes, sir.
I don't have the calendar on that, but they are cognizant of all of the publication, advertising requirements associated with an assessment to get us to where we need to be by the end of this year so that they can be implemented for next year.
That's what I was
You're not
getting-
going to do anything in the current year.
It'd be months of a process
It's a
to
big
implement
process.
that.
That's, well, that's why I'm asking the
So
question.
you're going to have to, we're going to have to try to schedule a workshop as quickly as we can
Well,
in order to try to
I
address.
thought that's what we were doing.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
We're gonna have a workshop, gentlemen. I'm pulling
Thank
this
you.
item tonight,
thank you.
and we're gonna have a workshop. Now we need to decide when we're gonna have it.
Can we
I thought
tackle
we
it
was having
all?
one.
Sir?
Can we tackle it all on the 13th?
No, 'cause I think you gotta advertise it specific,
Uh,
yeah.
You can't just advertise a workshop for general county business?
Mr.
We can do that, I'm saying, I don't think we can
Well,
add it to
we'll-
our 13th meeting.
We,
Go ahead.
we will identify in an advertisement the topics that'll be covered in the workshop.
Will we have enough time now?
Well,
I
that'll
think
be
he
up-
was asking, we couldn't discuss it if we had time next week
That's, yeah.
That's what we,
while we're in a workshop.
If we can get everything prepared in time for you soon enough, we could try to do it following the other one. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Let's shoot for that. If
We
we,
can try.
if we have some information that we can study and look at, we'll look at it. If we run short and we don't have everything we need, then obviously we'll address it at that
hit
time.
the pause button and
Yes.
set another one and come
Yes.
back.
And I'll just make a comment, Commissioner Land said, do any of us want to raise the tax? No, we don't want to.
Well, I knew that
You know,
answer.
but we don't want to, but.
I don't either.
The 8 years, and I'll tell you, I've been on it for 4, that can has got kicked. I mean, and when I say
Yes,
got kicked, is
I don't
we didn't kick it because we didn't have a problem. But I foresee now with our county growing and things that are happening.
Well, when our contract expired, we got a problem. I mean, it's-
And on the fire side, I'm talking about both.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about garbage.
Yep,
but-
yep.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'm going to try to comment on that. I would otherwise do it later, but since we're having the conversation on that contract, Commissioner Land is correct that we've got a big issue with this solid waste disposal. And it isn't the collection side, it's the disposal side, and you know that we've got separate budgets for those, but they are absolutely related to one another. But in 2014 is when we entered into a contract with Waste Management, and we had had a contract with them for many years before, but we had a great number. I think it was $17 a ton for disposal. And what has happened since 2014 is, in 2014, they had competition. But in the time frame between then and the time that we bid it recently, they merged with their competition, took them over.
I think they purchased everybody.
And we got numbers now that I think are at $32 a ton for disposal. Now, there's a separate rate for transportation, and I'm not going to go into that right now. So your current assessment isn't even going to cover the cost. So we have to hurry up and do something in order to generate the revenue that's going to be necessary to keep us in business and be able to haul the garbage out of here.
Well,
I had a meeting with representatives of the company last week. Had a long conversation with them about where we are and what we are able to do and unable to do. And I hope to hear back from them this week. They came here, they had 3 of them, and we had a long conversation. I'm hoping that we get a much reduced rate for at least a year to give us time to do something. But I don't know what they're going to come back with. So I'm expecting to hear from them this week. That's the plan right now. But we still need to have the workshop.
I want to discuss these items hopefully on Tuesday during our workshop. Hopefully we can cover a lot of this. But, you know, obviously I wasn't going to speak to this tonight either. I mean, it was going to get spoken about, but it's, there's going to be rate increases. But the people of this county is going to know that we don't have a say in it. It's basically where we're at.
Right.
And that's disappointing. That's disappointing.
Thanks, Rick.
But as a board, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna work through it. We're gonna do the best we can, and there will be, we'll figure out a way to, I mean, when you have two bidders all the time, and then you turn around and you just have one, and those folks know you just got one, I mean, it's,
Tough.
so, anyway.
Well, I'll be the first to tell you, this is all new to me, garbage. I don't understand a lot of it, so that's why I want the workshop, so I can be educated, and then,
There's not a problem with this at all, gentlemen. I don't have a problem pulling this and just having a workshop, and next week, if we have a list of things, or in 2 weeks, and there's something on there you're not comfortable with, by all means, speak up and let's pull it and let's talk about it. It's, you know, at the end of the day, we got to make decisions. We got to make wise decisions. And if somebody's not comfortable with something, I don't think anybody on this board is going to say, you know, we're going to leave you behind and vote.
Yeah, I mean, I'll speak to that. You know, I get passionate about certain issues. I'll admit that.
That's probably an understatement, but
I mean, I get when I do my research and I realize that that there's a big burden on our taxpayers and our people, and there's a big burden on us as this board to try to figure this out. And I might have got ahead of y'all a little bit on studying some of this. Y'all knew it was all coming, but I get passionate about it. I'm worried about our people and their pocketbooks, and I want to start now trying to figure this out for them. And it's unfortunate, like you said, it is unfortunate because this landed in all of our laps, and I'm no any more educated on garbage than Mr. White is. I just realized that we got a numbers problem for sure.
I would just like to request that we have the financial people at the workshop while we're having that. Mr. Baker?
You talking about someone from the finance department?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And, Mr. Chairman, it has been an issue, it has been a problem. And when we say, well, we'll do it, I was relieved, but now that it's here and got to deal with it head on.
That's right.
That time.
all right, gentlemen. Appreciate your comments. We'll move ahead. We didn't have any additional agenda items, did we? We're good? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'll open the floor to public comment. Do I have anyone from the public wishing to speak about any matter? Good or bad? Welcome to the podium.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Seeing none, I'll close public comment at this time. This time we'll go to closing comments. Mr. Pravat, you have anything follow up?
No, sir, not this evening.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Harris.
A couple of things that I wanted to, I'm going to give you copies. I'll give each of you a copy of something that I got from Chris Doolin. This is all about the Small County Coalition. There's one thing particular that he's asked that we do, and that's to contact our representatives and senators and the legislative delegation, and even more if we can, because clearly our money for our scrap and scop, our road funding for projects in this county is on the chopping block.
Again.
And I'm sure none of you feel good about that. But that's the reality. The proposals right now are to reduce the amount of funding in those programs that I thought were already underfunded. I have thought that for many years, because when they changed the programs and actually when they began including municipalities in those programs, they didn't increase the funding. And then I think I shared with you that about a year ago, we were told when we attended the legislative delegation meeting that the legislature had put more funding in the last budget, but we never saw any evidence of it. Well, the reality was they put money in there to take care of problems in the Panhandle. So none of that funding was ever shared with any of the other counties. So we've got a significant concern ahead if we're going to keep our roads in 5-year transportation improvement plans. And I'll pass this out. I'm not going to do it right now, but I'll give you each copies of it before you leave here. And then the other thing I had printed out was a copy of a letter that Chris Doolin had sent on the county's, small county's behalf as well, that pertains to the prisons and the potential closure of, like I said, in one bill, it proposes closing 2 prisons, another one proposes 4. And I just want to share that information with you as well. But this road program funding is very serious, and if you can find time to make some phone calls, I'm sure that would be very helpful.
Yes, sir. Anything else?
No, sir, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Mr. White, Commissioner White, I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to say I'm grateful for the way we came together and ironed a few things out, and I like that. I do. I just want to say I had my first grandchild Saturday, so tickled about that. And she's healthy, they're healthy, and a 7.5-pound girl. And
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
tickled. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That's all I got.
Your hair's gray, it's gonna start falling out now.
That's right. Commissioner Land.
I just congratulate Commissioner White on being a grandpa there and echoing what he said about us coming together. And we got some smart people on this board. We got a diverse group of guys that work in different areas, and together, using all those different areas and sectors, we can, get some things done working together, and I appreciate that. I think I'm the last one to tour Benderholtz. Mr. Norris carried me out there last week, and the line was up and moving, sawing logs, planing logs, sorting logs, making lumber, shooting out 2x4s. It doesn't look it doesn't look that big from the road, but when you get in there and start walking around, all these machines are flying. It's pretty impressive.
Yep.
And now there's mountains of logs out there in form of raw materials that they are pumping through that mill and making 2x4. Well, making all kind of boards, but that day they were making 2x4s, and pretty impressive. Those folks are happy to be here. We got to talk to the plant manager for a little while, and super nice folks. They want to work with us. They want to be successful. They want us to be successful, and that was heartwarming to see that thing moving. That's all I got.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Fleming.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have much. I just want to say that Commissioner Land must have been looking at the top of my head and looking at my gray hair graying, and my hair thinning out. I wear caps a lot of times, and met this guy last week. He said, "Oh, Clyde, you got gray hair. All your hair is gray." I said, "If you follow me around, you won't have none." But congratulations.
Look at me, I've been following you around.
Congratulations, Commissioner White, on your new grand. I know how you feel. I got 14 of them, and the last one is 8 weeks. He's 8 weeks old, headed on 9 weeks, and I tell you, I love them. Love them. The best thing about it, you can give them back. You can love them, love them, and give them back over and over and over. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Fleming. Commissioner Hale.
I just want to echo what some of you guys have said. I think there's a smart group of guys here, and I know there's nothing we can't work through, and I do appreciate everybody doing that. That's all I've ever asked of any board I've been on, and that's what makes us successful. You surround yourself with good people and good things that happen. So with that being said, I do want to mention the Hooked on Heroes this weekend down in Steenhatchee. Don't know if there's any veterans, but there's still time if you want to call. I know Mr. Ron Cato will probably go crazy I said that, but I don't want anyone to get left out. If you want to go fishing and you're a veteran, please call those guys up. We'll be down there doing that this weekend. And I know folks, Commissioner Land, he gets us all fired up in here sometimes, but he's got me fired up. I'm going home and going on a diet because of a comment he made earlier. So that's okay. But with that, that's all I got.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I appreciate the board. It's another one of them meetings where it gets uncomfortable and the seat get hot up here for everybody. It's not just for one commissioner, it's for everybody. You got to make some decisions. Sometimes they're tough. Sometimes people don't like them, and you have to look out there in that audience and look those people in the eye and maybe go against something that they were passionate about. And I just appreciate everyone having the opportunity to speak and being respectful. And all I wanted is an orderly meeting, and I want people, if they come here, I want them to have the opportunity to speak and feel comfortable doing so. And regardless of how we wind up voting, I want those folks at the end of the day, they're a citizen of Suwannee County, they're a taxpayer. They have a right to speak for or against anything that we have going, and I just want that known. Always welcome, even though it's uncomfortable. But I appreciate y'all helping us, working together and getting this garbage picked up. I mean, it'll give us some time to figure out, the best avenue as we move forward to save the most money, and no one on this board objects to saving money, trust me. That's all I have. All I need now is, gentlemen, is just a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion by Commissioner White,
Second.
second by Commissioner Fleming. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Yes, sir.